Bert Toplinsky, but keep it going right now for Iwan Wong.
Hey, what's up, you guys?
Hey!
Yeah, I was at Mount Baldy this past weekend. It was really cool, you know. I learned that it wasn't always called Mount Baldy, though. Back when the mountain was like younger and more hopeful, it was known as Mount Rogaine. Yeah, you guys ever play doctor when you were kids? And when I was in kindergarten, I was playing doctor with one of my classmates. It was all fun until she started playing proctologist.
Ooh.
Yeah, this one guy told me that scratching your head makes you bald, you know? But I don't believe that because my balls still have a lot of hair on them. Yeah, to the story. You know, about a week ago, I got into a fight with a lady, right? This big old lady. She looked like Jim Gaffigan with long hair. And she was like 6'2" or something, like 230 pounds. I guess because she was a lot bigger than me, right? So she thought she could take me. Anyway, I'm driving on the freeway, and I hear this honking, you know? And I look over, and this lady's like screaming at me, kind of, right? She's like, ah. I can't really hear, right? But I can see her face and shoulder expressions. And I'm like, what the hell did I do, you know? I'm like, whatever, lady, right? But she won't let up, you know? She's like, keep honking and like screaming at me. I'm like, what, right? And anyway, I'm pulling off the freeway, so I'm like, fuck you, you know, and I pull off. But she pulls off the freeway and gets in front of me, right? And then she stops her car, you know, all like tilted, so I can't get past her. So I get out of my car, right? And then she gets out of her car. So we start coming at each other, you know, and we're like kind of charging each other. I'm like, whoa, you know, am I really gonna do this, right? Am I really gonna punch this lady in the face, you know? But I was like, no! Boom! And I hit her right in the tit, you know? Oh man, it was like a precision strike. I'm telling you, I'm Bruce Lee would have been proud, man. I was like, whoa, bam! And shit. Like I didn't hit anything, just pure titty and shit. It was like, whoa, bam! And she was like, she's like, you hit my tit! Yeah, you want another one? And she was like, no! And she got in her car, drove away and shit. So yeah, man, you know, I don't believe in hitting women or nothing, but I'll punch titty in self-defense, shit.
You might want to pull this out of your puppy's mouth. She's eating some chair.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, you know, when I moved to Vegas, I was living at this house, and I had a bunch of roommates, and one of them was this Japanese guy, and he never talked to anybody, but he'd always feed the pigeons. And he'd been there for a couple of years, so when I showed up, all the pigeons were swarming me and shit, you know? I was like, what the hell? Get away from me, you damn racist-ass pigeons. Yeah, one of my buddies, he's a white dude. He's like super duper white, you know? I think he's like part albino and shit. Yeah, he's so white when he comes to my house, all the plants start growing in his direction. Hey, you know, whenever I have sex, right, I never last as long as I'd like to, you know? I'm always like, come on, penis, hang in there. You know, it's always like, screw this. Blech. And you know, I used to go to water parks every summer, but then one summer I had a pretty traumatic experience, so I stopped going. It was when I was 16, and I was at Raging Waters, right? Anyway, I'm waiting in line on these stairs to go to the slide. And then I look up, and then this girl, like, you know, she's about the same age as me, and her boobs are like right in my face, you know? It's like kind of cold and windy, right? So her nipples are like popping out. So I was like, oh, okay. So I turn, whatever, and then this girl here, her face is like right in my junk, you know? And I already have a partial woody going on. And then she like yawns, right? And so I was like, oh crap, and that was it, you know? It was like bing and shit. So I'm like, oh crap, I gotta get out of here. And so I ran up the stairs up to the slide. And it must be a common occurrence of Raging Waters because the lifeguard was like, come on, just go. So I got on the slide, I got out of there. And I was like, man, they really need to rename this place. They should call it Raging Boners. Why didn't the oyster share his food?
Why?
He's shellfish. Alright, there's this guy, right? He's a sailor, and he gets hired on this new boat. And after about 6 months at sea, he's talking to his buddy. He's like, hey, when are we going to go back to port? You know, I'm getting kind of horny over here. And the guy's like, oh no, we're not going back to port for another 6 months. It's like, what? I can't wait that long. And he's like, well, have you tried the barrel? It's like, no, what's that? So he takes him to this room with a barrel in it, and it's got a little hole in the barrel. And he's like, well, there you go. So he starts fucking the barrel, right? And it works really well. He's talking to his buddy later. He's like, man, that was awesome. So I'm gonna use that barrel every day. He's like, oh, you mean every day but Sunday, right? He's like, oh, you can't use it on Sunday? He's like, well, you can, but Sunday's your day in the barrel.
Whoa.
What do you call a guy that can make a business suit real fast?
What?
Taylor Swift. You know, I think Pride Month needs a mascot. And I got the perfect one. The flamingo. Right? It's got pink feathers. They love to dance. And they're like a non-predatory, peaceful type bird, you know? They only eat like brine shrimp and algae. And nobody cares about brine shrimp. And also, you know what a group of flamingos is called? They're not called a flock. No, they're called a flamboyance. Yeah, how gay is that, right? And even the word, the name flamingo is flaming O. Yeah, a flaming O. That's a burning butthole. You know, like whenever you meet a guy who always brags about how big his dick is, it's usually the opposite, right? You usually got a little tiny dick. And I was talking to this guy the other day, and he was like, oh yeah, man, my dick is so huge. I'm hung like a horse. I was like, psh, yeah, like a seahorse. Yeah, I think Shaquille O'Neal's like the happiest man on earth, you know? I think because, like, everyone just loves him, and, like, he's always so jolly, right? I think because, like, he's so big that no one's ever messed with him. Like, how are you going to bully someone who's so tall that his crotch is in your face, right? And it's like, hey, Shaq, give me your lunch money. Never mind. And you know that whole thing where if you're a lady, you're alone in the woods, and like, would you rather run into a bear or a strange man, right? And a lot of women are choosing the bear, right? But I think that's just ignorance of bear knowledge. Because I ran into a bear alone in the woods once. Yeah, and he fucked the shit out of me. And, you know, scientists reported for the first time this year 2 male humpback whales having sex. Yeah, Warner Brothers is already going to make a movie about them. And they're called Humpback Mountain. It's weird how language changes over time, right? Like nowadays, if a guy came up to me and told me he was going to blow my brains out, I wouldn't know whether to run away or pull my pants down. Yeah, I was watching this Bigfoot show documentary the other day, and it struck me as how dedicated these Bigfoot hunters were. And, you know, they're so devoted to something that might not even be real. Like comedians in their careers.
Thanks.
Not us.
Yeah, I've had sex with all different types of women, you know, like white, black, Asian, Hispanic. In my opinion, Asian women give the best blowjobs. Huh? If any of you ladies like to prove me wrong, you can meet me in the bathroom later. What did the Australian chess player say to the waiter?
What?
Checkmate. Yeah, a couple months ago, North Korea sent over 200 balloons over to South Korea, and they're filled with like garbage and excrement. But that's not exactly an accurate statement, because those balloons, they weren't filled with shitty trash. No, they were packed with Dane Cook's jokes. And, you know, there's a new disorder going around called Usher syndrome. Yeah, it makes you go blind and deaf. It's pretty serious, right? You know, I always thought when you got Usher syndrome, it just made you go, yeah. Yeah, I was in the United States Army, 1st Cavalry Division, Fort Hood. Thank you. It was cool, you know. It was weird being the only Asian person, though. Yeah, every day people were just looking at me like, are we supposed to shoot this guy? Yeah, you get some good benefits being in the Army, you know. But I'd say the best benefit is the ability to give old men hard-ons. Yeah, like old men, they love hearing Army stories. Yeah, I guess because it makes them feel younger, it gives them hope for the future or something. Like if I meet some old man at a park and I start telling them Army stories, I'll tell you, they start coming all over me. Yeah. My dog, you know, she's real cute, you know. She's so cute that when other dogs see her, they go, oh my gosh, that dog is so cute. And then they go, oh my gosh, I can talk. Yeah, I was driving around the other day and I got pulled over by a horse cop. Yeah, it's crazy, you know. I didn't even know it was behind me until I heard this. Woo, woo! It wasn't the siren making that sound either, it was the horse. I'll tell you a story. I've got a lot of time left. I'll tell you an Army story. the day I'm in process to the Army, right? So my recruiter, he picks me up. He takes me to the Bonaventure Hotel right over there in downtown LA. And he's like, you see that line of people? Go get in that line and sign in and they'll tell you what to do. So I do that, and then they give me a room key. They're like, you better go to sleep early tonight. We're gonna wake you up at 3 in the morning. I'm like, 3 in the morning? You know, I'm fucking 18 years old. I've never woken up that early. So, okay, I'm like, all right. Anyway, sure thing, right? 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings. I'm like, hello? You know, like, get downstairs, get in this bus. So I do that. They take us to this base in Long Beach. And the first thing they do is they break us up into our branches, right? They're like Army here, Navy, Marines, Air Force. Now, the first thing we all realize is that all the pretty girls are in the Air Force. You know, and I'm in the Army, right? So I'm like, fuck. But anyway, we go. And the very first thing they give us this test, it's like the SAT on steroids. It's crazy. And so for those of us to pass, they break us up in these little groups. And then they tell me, like, all right, you go to this room. So I open this door. I'm like, whoa, what the hell? You know, in there it's like a bunch of dudes, and they're all in their underwear, and they're all like lined up doing jumping jacks and shit. I'm like, you want me to go in there? They're like, yeah, hurry up. And the people are like, get in here, hurry up, close the door, right? I'm like, I guess, you know. And so they're like, hurry up, take your clothes off and get in line. I'm like, what? You know? I'm like, okay, right? I'm really uncomfortable about all this whole thing. So what it is there's a sergeant in the front, and he's telling everyone, okay, now do jumping jacks. Okay, now do windmills. All right, now do squats or whatever. And then these other 2 sergeants are like walking up and down the rows, and they're like watching us like hawks and shit. And one of those 2 sergeants, he yells at the guy next to me. He's like, you, do that windmill again. And he tries, but he can't get his arm all the way up. And he's like, you're out, get out. And that was it. That was how fast it was to get kicked out of the military, you know? And that was just the beginning. You had like vision test, hearing, height, weight, all these things, right? Every station, like, you're out. There's kicking people left and right and shit. And at one point, this big old Mexican dude, he's all tatted down. And he was all telling everyone how his dad was a Marine, and all of his uncles were Marines, and he was gonna be like the best Marine in the world. And then this guy comes out, he's like, you're out. You know, and he's like, what? He's like, why? It's like, because your neck is too thick. You know, yeah, it measured too thick. That was it, he couldn't be a Marine. And he almost started crying right there, like right there in front of everyone, he almost started crying and shit. And finally, after about 5 o'clock, like I passed like my last test, and the sergeant's like, congratulations, son, you made it to the United States Army, you know? And I was like, thank you, Sergeant, you know? I was just like so happy and like so proud, you know? But then the whole time I was in the Army, I couldn't wait to get out of that motherfucker. I'll tell you one more Army story. Is when I did the M60 training. All right, the M60 is a light machine gun. It's the Rambo gun, right? Anyway, there's 200 of us, and we're watching our 4 drill sergeants shoot the Rambo gun the proper way, right? They're laying there, and they're doing short control bursts. Anyway, one of them, he's like, fuck this, right? So he stands up, and he holds the gun like Rambo with one arm like this, and the other arm is holding the bullets, you know? And he just starts shooting, like, he's like, ah, right? Now, all 200 of us were like, what the fuck? I'm like, fuck yeah, that's fucking awesome. Now the other 3 drill sergeants, they hear us cheering, and so they start looking around like, what the hell's going on? And they see the guy up there, and so they're like, oh, fuck this. And so they all stand up and pick up the machine guns, and so they all shoot like that. Anyway, so you got 4 grown men standing there with machine guns, just sawing away, just screaming, ah, right? And behind them is 200 young guys, and we're all screaming at the top of our lungs, like, fuck yeah, fuck, that's fucking awesome. Oh man, it was the most testosterone-filled event I've ever been part of in my life. Yeah, at the end of the day, we all had sore throats and fucking full-grown beards and shit. Yeah, I was talking to this guy the other day, he told me he was Persian. I was like, you're Persian? From Persia? He was like, yeah, where are you from? I was like, the Han Dynasty, I guess. And you know the NFL has 1 Asian player, and he's a kicker. Could you not find a more racist position for this guy? What, even make him go out barefoot in a karate uniform? Yeah, I had a horrible haircut the other day, or about a month ago. Yeah, it's terrible, you know? You ever have a haircut so bad people start treating you differently? I'm like, this guy must have a learning disability or something. You know your shit's fucked up when the waitress at Denny's tying a bib around your neck. Yeah, I was eating pizza the other day, but you know, eating pizza by yourself is kind of depressing, right? That's like eating cake or getting drunk by yourself. Basically, like my last birthday.
Ah.
Alright, this last up. You know, comedians will always tell you two things, right? They'll always tell you when they just gonna put down a show. And they'll always tell you when they just had sex. That's a bit juvenile, right? Like myself, I've been booked on a show in over a month. But I did get laid last week, so whoa.
Hey.
Alright, my name's Iwana. I'm out here. Thank you.
You are long, everybody. Thank you for your service and for your dog.